Bishop Leath is blessed with a loving family. He is married to Dr. Susan Joan Leath, who is a medical family physician. Together, they are proud parents of 3 brilliant adult children and grandparent to 2 precious grandchildren. Bishop Leath's ecumenical service equally is impressive, with notable roles including Vice President, Rhode Island Council of Churches President, Christian Council of Philadelphia President, Council of Churches of Delaware and Eastern Shores of Maryland, former President of the Global Council of Bishops of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, a distinguished speaker, a dedicated and dependable leader, a man with great integrity, unwavering integrity, and unparalleled commitment to duty and service. Will you help me to bring up here this prince of a preacher and teacher and the former pastor of Federal African Methodist Episcopal Church? Put your hands together. Come on, let's welcome him. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks to my friend and colleague, Bishop Daniels. And I am so sad that I'm not in a position to send him another check for that wonderful introduction. Bishop Green in absentia and Pastor Cavanis, who is here and graciously receiving us, and to all that protocol that you've not had to hear this week, but is customary in this place. So Dr. Monica and all of these family presidents, and to all of you, it is good to see you and to welcome you to Mother Bethel as well. I want to say that I'm both honored and humbled to be able to speak on behalf of the 2 families. I'm certainly not in a position where they had to do that, and it was very kind of them in that expression. I did want to make just a couple of notes, and then I'm going to begin, and I'm going to actually set a timer because I do have a couple of anecdotes that I would share if there's time, but if there's not time, I'm going to exercise discipline. We started out at the Arch Street Friends meeting house this morning and not at St. George's for some logistical reasons. I would say, I want to assure you that the relationships between Mother Bethel and St. George's have been wonderful over the last at least 75 to 100 years, and there's much dialogue. I also want to take the opportunity, I'm not going to tell you about my favorite window unless we have time, but the second window from the right, that is the only symbol of the windows that we are not absolutely sure of its meaning or origin. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because if you look at it and if you remember the tapestry that was hanging at the Mennonite Center on yesterday, the best guess that I have is that that is probably a welcome symbol in the tradition of the Amish who were here. And so those of you who see it over here, when you come out, you'll be able to see it a little bit later. But I just thought I would make mention of that because this is a special place. All right, I'm going to set my timer now and I'm going to start. And if I were smart, I would not say anything and make you believe everything that Bishop Daniels said about me and not have reason to question it in the least. I want to use as a topic the light we shine. The light we shine. We believe in Jesus. That is the beginning and the end of our undebatable agreement as Christians. For every word we add, there will be differences of interpretation and appropriation. It would be redundant to assert that one is a Christian without that one affirmation. Oceans of ink will seek greater definition of things that will not be confirmed until the end of time. Walls of separation will highlight the brand and obscure better tests of true affiliation with Jesus. Jesus himself gives a better evaluative tool. Quote, "You will know them by their fruits." Matthew 7. Creeds are useful and convenient for institutional development. The masses will recite them without perfect understanding. Loyalty will emotionally charge warriors, and enemies appear from words and ideas rather than Jesus test the fruit. The gospel tells us of the light of life. The witness of the church is not that we believe in the light, but more importantly, the witness of the church is the light reflected in and from us, and where the light is moving us. We get distracted by thinking that all we need to do is tell people believe in Jesus. No, we are called to show people the fruit of lives lived by those who believe in Jesus. Thinking about this topic and various world events, the Holy Spirit led me to the image of solar sails. Have you ever heard of solar sails? This is not science fiction. The light of the sun can push a sail and carry in motion a vehicle that might be attached to it. Amazing. We think light is just light. But the light of the sun can push a sail and affect motion. A solar sail must be large, lightweight, and highly reflective. If we are living in the light of life, where is that light moving us? Is our sail so small that the light does not set the weight of our existence in motion? Is our sail so heavy that it defies the force of the light? So we merely are shiny objects doing nothing and going nowhere. Is our sail so poorly reflective of the light such that we absorb or distort without the benefits of power and motion? Jesus predicted denominations and divisions. Let the wheat and weeds grow together. Beware of wolves disguised as sheep. By their fruit you will know them. Although there is value in what we discern to be true, Jesus reserves the ultimate judgment for the end of time, for the most part. Don't trample the wheat by weeding. Don't kill the wolf in disguise. Don't waste your time with the unproductive fig tree or bitter fruit. Observe, acknowledge, warn, separate, but do no harm. Shake off the dust. Let the light propel you elsewhere. Granted, this is not a solution to the challenges of social justice or ecumenical unity. My encouragement is to shift the emphasis from creedal formulations to what really matters to the faithful masses: the results. What does one look like living in a certain way? What is the impact of such living on the immediate community and the broader world? What is the wonderful change in life when Jesus comes into your heart? Is the light of life visible in who you are, what you love, and what you do? We are in Philadelphia. Be vigilant if you think it is a pristine place of loving community. We are at Mother Bethel Church, a fellowship of believers forced into existence because the powerful and creedal and doctrinal agreement questioned their humanity and violated their dignity. Just a few blocks away that way, St. Joseph's Roman Catholic Church sits externally plain and unassuming to be invisible in a hostile environment. And St. Mary's, a block or so closer here, Roman Catholic Church, avoids the facade of splendor, knowing that even though the graves of patriots are on their grounds, it would not guarantee peace to its walls. Holy Trinity Roman Catholic Church, which we passed, I don't know if you noticed the brick church on the right, a block up from Mother Bethel Church, was not only a target because it was Roman Catholic, but it was also made up of German worshipers. There was little welcome among those with whom they shared creeds and no appreciation by all the dwellers of the city of brotherly love. Can you imagine it? Mobs also threatened Mother Bethel. Not creed, not nationality. Richard Allen and other blacks showed good citizenship by rising to the call to bury the dead during the 1793 yellow fever epidemic. They proved their patriotism by forming a militia to defend the city from the British in the War of 1812. The color of their skin signaled inferiority and subhuman status. The system allowed their lives to be bartered on auction blocks with sales recorded in the same manner as the exchange of horses. People who believed in Jesus had plenty about which they may disagree. Some divisions were creedal, others were more concerned about praxis. Episcopalians and Presbyterians created their domains. The Methodists were fast growing but not yet dominant in colonial Philadelphia. The Baptists were not much to reckon with outside of Rhode Island, but they had an expanding presence. Various creedal expressions attracted people of color. They illustrated the subservience of faith to ethnicity. As Bethel was to the Methodists, the African Episcopal Church of St. Thomas showed the scourge of racism among the Protestant Episcopal Jesus believers. First African Presbyterian Church and First African Baptist Church added to the picture of a pervasive sin. Hate focused on where people were from was not the end of it. Jews, Moors, and others endured religious persecution. However, let us not overlook the divisions among Jesus believers according to class. Those people, not the ones of different color, creed, or national origin, but those people who are poor, illiterate, lacking in preferred social graces. Those people need their own houses of worship to espouse our common faith. Those people, even oppressed African American Jesus believers, could not resist the infection of classism, all in the city of brotherly love and across the land of the free and home of the brave. Places of worship divided, some for the middle class, some for the poor, some for the wealthy. An aspiration for the mainline churches and the historically black churches is to rise from the foundation of creedal alignment to more faithful praxis of faith. We must prove to the world that not only do we have the light of Christ, but also that light is moving us with clear purpose. Evangelism, ministry, equipping, edification, reproving, and rebuking will not be Jesus honoring until we acknowledge in thought, word, and deed the humanity of all those created in the image of God. That's my theme sentence. So, excuse me, I'm going to just repeat it one more time. Evangelism, ministry, equipping, edification, reproving, and rebuking will not be Jesus honoring until we acknowledge in thought, word, and deed the humanity of all those created in the image of God. Many of us are waiting with bated breath to hear how the U.S. Supreme Court upholds or perverts the obvious constitutional meaning of all in the 14th Amendment. It is sad that, quote, all persons born, end quote, requires explanation to educated Jesus believers. If not constitutional understanding, what even prompts the question? The discretion censors have edited my text. I am left with a mind open to inquiry and a soul praying for justice. We soon may have to declare solidarity with the oppressed by wearing gloves and masks to portray ethnic uniformity and speak through electronic voice boxes to minimize accent assessments as we crowdsource places associated with certain kinds of people. Perhaps all should remain silent in the presence of law enforcement to avoid false assumptions of probable cause and the insecurity of state-sanctioned abduction. I digress. Let me go back. Martin Luther King Jr. asserted, quote, I am convinced that if we are to get on the right side of the world revolution, we as a nation must undergo a radical revolution of values. We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. When machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered, end quotation. The person-oriented society does not objectify women. It requires looking beyond moral preferences or perceived biblical expectations to see the humanity of those we think are deficient or sinful. Jesus allowed himself to be touched by the unclean, dined with the corrupt, and listened to the immoral. Observing the humanity of another does not condone, enable, or justify that with which we disagree. It makes us more like Jesus, in whom we believe, just to be able to say, that's a child of God. Malcolm X declared, a way which exceeded the struggle for civil rights. He wrote, quote, all of our people have the same goals, the same objective: freedom, justice, equality. All of us want recognition and respect as human beings, end quotation. We do not need protection from those who hold different creeds. We must resist those who fail to acknowledge the humanity of fellow human beings. It is why we detest the attack of 7 October and protest the overwhelming military assault on Gaza. Assessing character is not easy, but it is not impossible among those who are willing to be a believer in the light of light. It is not hard to figure out whether denying medical care to one in your face, not across your border, is loving or not. We live in a world that defies sanitization by the opponents of any creed. Those who believed in Jesus protected their children and their community before the authority of the state began enforcing enforcing their morals.
Okay, I found this on the web for the...
Siri now wants to help me when I don't need her help. We should worry less about what goes on behind closed doors and be more concerned about the propagation of lies in the public square. A lie that assassinates my humanity is much more threatening than that which goes on in someone else's bedroom, occupies a closed door restroom door, or presents as divine worship by people and in a manner inconsistent with my own practices. Lies hurt me more than that stuff we get stuck on. Where is the light moving you? Is it the light or self-generated propulsion which takes us to places of condemnation, exclusion, oppression, denial, and dehumanization? Is there joy, peace, and contentment where we obsess over othering? Where are we with, is our sail so small that we fail to see the breadth of humanity? Are we not to be impacted by the radiance of the light? Are we passing by green pastures and still waters in favor of where the light would lead us because pride, greed, and faithless trust in worldly power have us fearful of the humanity of others and insecure about the power, purpose, direction, or the flow of the light on our lives? Let me close with many controversial statements so you'll have something to talk about in your groups. Someone said to me this morning that that was expected. First, I want to say thank you to the whites who have taken up the mantle to speak truth on social media and public squares regarding one sadly brought to their demise, but truly aired with motives left to the light to judge. Thanks to those who have risen to the challenge to defend the intellect and integrity of black women, black pilots, academics, military personnel of color, and women whose accomplishments and humanity have been attacked without justification. We must address the sins of oppression by the oppressed. Being oppressed is not a pass card to oppress. Oppression does not equate to righteousness or faith. It is not a condition to be pitied. It is an opportunity for believers in the light to be driven to do justly, show mercy, and in humility journey as they're being pushed by the light. I'm going to trust Dr. Monica to edit this out of the presentation before it gets published. We will and should, and future generations should bear in mind the Holocaust. Unequivocally, we must remember the Holocaust. But who in their right mind thinks that the world is going to forget Gaza?
Yes, sir. All right.
The problem is not conservative versus liberal. It is not about moral position, creed, worship style, or experience of awe. No. Gosh, must be what I just said that caused my computer to want to mess up here. It's about personal and institutional views of classes and specific individuals where poverty does not make one less of a person and physical, emotional, or social challenges are not an excuse to deny human dignity. In the Black church, we need to address xenophobia. We are not going to be able to establish necessary partnerships if we do not bring the conversation to the masses, not just around ecumenical tables. It means that we have to accept the fact that there must be collaboration not only within our nation, which we love, but also across our borders. It means we have to extend hands of identity around the world with those who are driven by the same light that moves us. The African diaspora, Armenia, the light of light, believers in Palestine and others, and the names go on and on. Our problem is not merely a national problem. The problem is worldwide when people do not respect the humanity of other people. The light we shine should lead us to statements. Oh, I had to give you a footnote for this, sorry. This next statement has nothing to do with what has happened here at this meeting. Absolutely nothing. I say that, and trust me, believe me, and if you want to challenge me later, feel free to do that. But the light we shine should lead us to statements of forgiveness to accompany confessions, laments, and commitments to not repeat past sins. Yes, forgiveness. You know, some of our critics are not too far off. The fact of the matter is, no, we don't have control over what our great-great-grandparents said, did, or acted. We don't have any control of that. You know, as my mother would say, you know, every pot has to sit on its own bottom. And the truth of the matter is, don't take pride in the fact that your denomination or your group has apologized to somebody for something that happened 100, 200 years ago, because the fact of the matter is, most people are not resentful of what happened 200 years ago. Not most, some, but not most. They're resentful for the effects of what's happening today. What has happened, what was put in the DNA. And so, what does apology mean if you've not changed the DNA structure so that the person in the present is different from the person in the past? Violence does not beget violence among those who are driven by the light. But where are the statements of forgiveness? Where are those who have been pushed by the light to say, even if you still mistreat me, I refuse to hate you because you're white. I refuse to resent you because you are rich. I refuse to abuse you because you speak with an accent and you compete with me for a place in school or a job. I will not hate you, but more than that, I will forgive you. And I don't mean some flimsy statement that is knee-jerk. I'm talking about genuine forgiveness that is born of a process of reflection and wrestling, where people have struggled with their grief and struggled with their pain, and to be able to say that, yes, from my pain and from my acknowledgement of the hurt that has been done to me, I stand with honesty, integrity, and boldness and say, genuinely, I forgive you. Finally, dialogue is great. Grand official pronouncements are special. Liturgical acts of remembrance are helpful. Yet all of this is minimal until the common believers in Jesus see and respect the humanity of every person. We need Catholic expectation for truth from our political leaders, confidence in God's love, protection, and concern for all God's children, an end of idolatry, a light shining from the light. And so as we sang an hour or so ago, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Down in my heart, I'm going to let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. And why? Because Jesus gave it to me. Jesus is moving me. Jesus is empowering me. Jesus tilts my sail in just the right direction so I end up where Jesus wants me to be, doing what Jesus wants me to do. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.